All right, let's get right into it. We're taking a deep dive into the artist known as Lladnaros. And look, this isn't just about the music. The entire project is described as systems theory in disguise, a whole philosophy that claims it can be used to literally debug reality. It's an intense, super systematic way of looking at the world. And this is where it all starts. This one blunt command is basically the key that unlocks a pretty radical critique of, well, everything. Language, truth, all the systems we live inside. It's not just a phrase, it's a challenge, a protocol, and the foundation for everything that comes next.
So the first layer of this whole philosophy is basically a declaration of war on any kind of unclear communication. Lladnaros doesn't see talking in circles as just some annoying habit people have. No, it's viewed as a deep, systemic failure that's actually designed to hide what's really going on.
According to this worldview, all that formal, polite, professional language we're taught to use, it's just entropy wearing a tie. Chaos and noise dressed up to look important. The idea is that academic jargon and corporate buzzwords are just decorative intelligence. It sounds smart, but it's really just burying the actual point. The argument is that being brutally direct, having hard clarity, is an act of rebellion, because it completely removes any plausible deniability. And it's really stressed that this isn't about being rude for the sake of it. It's a strict protocol. In this system, being able to say something clearly is the ultimate test of whether you actually understand it. If you can't break an idea down, simply and directly, then you haven't really gotten your own head around it. It's a demand for your own thinking to be consistent.
Okay, so this whole critique of communication then builds into something way deeper. The argument starts to shift from just how we talk to the idea that the problem is baked into the very nature of language itself.
And this slide really gets to the core of it. Most of us think language is just a tool, right? Something we use to express our own original thoughts. Well, the Lladnaros view completely flips that on its head. It argues language is more like an operating system that we're born into. We don't think and then speak. As one source puts it, the language is doing the talking, basically running us like software.
This line just perfectly captures the idea. The suggestion is that our thoughts are, in a way, pre-compiled. They're already structured by the language we have before we're even aware of them. We're not a blank slate. We're dropped into a linguistic system that defines the boundaries of what we can even think. As the source says, language hijacked you, no takebacks.
And this brings us to a key concept: syntax sabotage. This is the idea that language gets deliberately corrupted to maintain control. That polite, vague corporate speak we all know? In this framework, that's not harmless. Those are Trojan words. They're like bugs in the code, designed to make communication stall and fail, hiding the real intention and preventing any useful feedback.
So let's look at how the source material shows these abstract ideas, this corrupted code and these broken loops playing out with devastating consequences in the real world. One of the central stories here is this origin story. It's pretty straightforward. A normal person makes a common mistake, they're honest about it, they admit fault, but they come up against a system that has a zero-tolerance policy. There's no room for nuance, no way to give feedback or earn redemption. They're just branded for life. As the source says, this isn't justice, it's incoherence with a badge. The system itself, because its feedback loop is totally broken, ends up creating the very villain it's supposed to be stopping.
And that story, it's really presented as a symptom of a much bigger disease. The argument is that our main societal systems, justice, education, even big corporations, they're often built to just punish mistakes instead of learning from them. They get criticized for having no way to get feedback or evolve. They treat people like static files in a database, instead of what they are: dynamic, learning, evolving systems.
So, if our language is a virus and our systems are broken, what do? Well, Lladnaros proposes a solution. Adopt a new, incredibly rigorous protocol for how we interact with reality itself.
The question then becomes, what does this protocol actually look like? I mean, if we throw out the whole performance of politeness and the comfort of just agreeing with everyone, what do we replace it with?
And here are the core principles. It starts with hard clarity, obviously. It demands closed loops, meaning every conversation has to actually lead somewhere to a resolution. But this next one is key: embrace error. As one lyric puts it, you could be wrong. Good. That's where we start. Being wrong isn't seen as a personal failure. It's a gift. It's a chance to debug your own thinking and update your mental model. It's all about prioritizing what's logically coherent over what's socially popular. This quote just nails the mindset. The goal isn't to defend your fragile ego or just win an argument. The goal is to build a mental model of reality that's actually robust. So according to this protocol, when one of your beliefs gets proven wrong, you don't fight for it, you throw it out, and you rebuild with better information. You just update. And this leads us to the final and maybe most audacious layer of the whole philosophy. A plan to actually build this protocol into the physical world, to create what the source material calls a truth-detecting machine.
The blueprint for this machine is something called the XP framework. It's proposed as a system designed not just to process information, but to actively measure and debug reality. Yeah, you heard that right. At the heart of this thing is a physics-based equation. The goal is to actually quantify coherence, which is basically being used here as a synonym for truth. So let's break this down. XP, or coherence, is calculated by entropy reduction. That's the delta S. That just means how much order a system creates out of chaos. Then you divide that by the speed of loop closure squared. Loop closure is just a fancy way of saying how fast a question gets answered or a problem gets solved. So a system is more true or coherent if it creates a ton of order very, very quickly. It's literally an engine to mathematically score reality.
So how on earth would you ever deploy something like this? According to the source material, you do it in secret. You build a Trojan horse. You go to businesses and offer them a cheaper payment processor. But the tablets you give them, they're actually nodes in a giant coherence detection network. Customers think they're just getting loyalty points, but they're really feeding data into a truth-validating machine. It's a secret infrastructure designed to debug the world.
And this is the end game. The ultimate goal here is to completely flip the script on the surveillance economy. Right now, our personal data is the most valuable thing there is. This framework wants to replace that with a new economy where the most valuable asset isn't data, it's coherence, provable, measurable truth.
Which leaves us with this final, really provocative thought, taken straight from the source. It's a challenge to everything we think about our own free will. Are we really in control? Or are we just parts of a much bigger system, running on code we never chose and don't even understand? A powerful question to leave you with.